Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fall Sports Talk. I'm joined today by high school athletic director Craig Nigerian. I told him I was going to mess it up. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us tonight. Where and what did you do before you came here? I know we were talking a little bit before.
Yeah, you know, I've been a college baseball coach for the last 12 years. I spent 3 years at Brandeis University as an assistant. Okay. 2 years at Wheaton College, right down the road here, nice, as an assistant for 2 years, and then went to Boston College as a recruiting coordinator for a year, and then I jumped over to Holy Cross for the last 6, and the last 3 as their head coach.
So you stayed in Massachusetts. Did you go to school in Massachusetts? Is that?
I did. I graduated from Westboro High School in '91, and went on to St. Anselm College up in New Hampshire. Graduated from there in '95 and played there 4 years.
Very nice. What sports have you played? I know we were talking a little bit about.
I played football and baseball in high school, and baseball in college. Avid golfer. Right. Played tennis. So
you said you like tennis. That's your favorite sport.
Well, my dad coached it for 25 years at Holy Cross. So I kind of grew up on that. But when I got to high school, I had to choose between baseball and tennis because they're the same season sport. So I picked baseball, figuring I could play tennis the rest of my life. And and golf too.
So you're very into the sports and you enjoy. Do you watch a lot of games, high school, professional, college? Do you keep up with your the teams that you had coached with before in the past?
I do. I'm very close with my Brandeis ties and my Wheaton ties. Yeah. Those were guys that those were my mentors, and have a lot of. I still have a lot of close ties with those guys. Keep track of them all the time. Still check the box score for BC, and I'm sure I'll be doing that with Holy Cross this year too. So that never changes.
Yeah. Now, kind of transitioning into, because you said you've done a lot of coaching, what's the difference between coaching and now becoming the athletic director? What type of responsibilities are you now taking on that you don't see as a head coach or as an assistant?
It's a common question, and the thing is that there's a lot of similarities, if you can believe it. The way I look at it is, when you're trying to build a team, being an athletic director is no different. You're trying to build a team of coaches, and I've said it all along, and probably too much, but I mean, my belief is that the strength of your athletic department is the strength of your coaching staff. So you want to put together a great team of coaches that represent what you believe in, and so
it starts from the top then. Yeah, that's how you look at it.
So you're still trying to put a good team together,
right?
But it trickles down through the coaches into the rest of the sports, into the players. So it's like you say, it starts at the top, and you want to have good people in place that are running your programs, and it makes it for a real strong athletic department.
And what, for some of us who don't know, what are the types of roles that you take on? And responsibilities, both appointed by the rest of the coaching staff that they look to you for, and also the administrative aspects of the school and the school department.
Right. Well, the administrative side of things is pretty extensive. Obviously you want to make sure the fields are all prepared and lined. You want to make sure that the coaches all have their supplies and what they need for equipment and gear.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you the one that would order that type of stuff and manage that, or is that
what you do? Is some of this we haven't even been able to do yet, but you sit down, with the rest of the coaches through the winter and fall, winter and spring. I haven't been able to do it with, but you sit down with your coaches and find out what their needs are, and get a sense of what the kind of equipment and gear they need, so we'd work together on that. Administratively through the MIA, there's boatloads of paperwork to make sure everything's in compliance, and in terms of what was the other part of that you were asking me? Administratively and with the coaches and what they need. For me, the most important part of the job is your support. I've been a coach for 12 years, and I know how important that is, and so I want to be that kind of an athletic director for my coaches.
Right. And do you take care of stuff? Like the teams have to. Do you take care of arranging for bus transportation and stuff like that? Does that all come to you, or is that the coaches?
Okay. Yeah, we'd sit down and make sure that the schedule is straightened out, and I work very closely with Joni Goodwin in the transportation office to make sure that that's taken care of. Your schedules are changing all the time, so you're working. Usually from week to week, I'll give a weekly schedule to Joni, to all the maintenance guys working on the fields, making sure the fields are prepped, like Dave Laliberti, Kevin Corliss, who sets up the fields, Our secretaries in the main office to make sure that when people call, they have a schedule there so that they know they can answer people's questions. Down in central office, so that because they get calls as well. So
Right.
I mean, and the custodial staff at the Ahern building, making sure they're up to speed on things, because you don't want a team showing up and you need to use their locker rooms and they're not ready for it. So there's a lot of layers, and to make sure that everybody's informed and on the same page.
Right. It sounds like a lot of paperwork from what you're explaining.
A lot of phone calls.
Yeah.
And making sure everybody knows what's going on. And
right.
And the thing I've learned quickly is that you make sure you get your details right away, because if you mess up one, it'll save you
Domino
9 calls
effect.
down the road. Yeah.
What do you think? What's your favorite aspect of this job so far? I mean, I know you've only been in the position since, so you said June or July.
Right.
July 1st.
I love dealing with the coaches more than anything. It's my goal day to day to get that paperwork done in the morning or even at night at home, so that I can be free in the afternoon and on the fields, because that's really what it's about. I don't want it to be something where I'm holed up in an office all day and kind of the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain. That's it's not my style. I'm big on communication and being visible, and I want to be on the fields. I want to be out on the fields, and there's times where, and I even said this in my job interview, was there's going to be times where coaches are coming at you and you got 90 million things going on, but that 5 minutes that they need your ear is their most important part of their day. When you might be torn between 9 different things, you need to stop and listen and because that's how I felt when I was a coach. I want to be able to feel comfortable enough to go in and talk to my athletic director in the office, and that's not always the case. Some are like that and some aren't, and I want to be that kind of an AD. Yeah,
because it does sound like you're very, teamwork sounds like it's like at the heart of everything. You can tell from just how you're explaining your job.
I'm huge on communication, and I'd much rather sit down and have a face-to-face conversation about something than, shoot emails and trade voicemails. It's just not my style. I'm more comfortable in that setting, and the most important thing you can ask a coach is, what do you need? Those 4 words sometimes can make all the difference, because you might not need anything, but the fact that
someone's asking
is important.
Exactly. Kind of transitioning from the coaches to the students, have you had much chance to interact with students yet?
Starting to,
because I know you've only been here about a month.
Yeah, it's a big part of it. I don't want to be separate, and I think that's huge. We did a captain's conference last week for our sports through the Hockomock League. They do it every year. And what I want to do is set up. That was good for one day, but what I'd like to do is set up times where we meet with the captains periodically for different sports, to just get a dialogue going about what they think about the athletic department. I just want to get them to have a say, or not a say, but just to start a dialogue about what they think about the department, what they think is good, what they think is bad. And I want to find and like I said, I said this. We had an athletics night a couple weeks ago. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. I want you to be direct, because I want to know what you think. And so that might mean I call the 3 captains in from Sport X, and just for 20 minutes, just to say, what do you think of this and that, and give me your thoughts, and just get a dialogue going, and have some ownership in it.
And kind of transitioning from that, what do you think? What role do you think athletics plays in any student's education? I mean, and what responsibility do you take to making sure that athletics is more than athletics, and it's really a learning and growing experience?
It's hard to explain. I had an unbelievable experience in high school. It changed me in a lot of ways. It's hard to, I think, nowadays get kids to understand the educational value of it, because we're so caught up in the next level. That's what I hear about. I want to get to the next level, instead of worrying about or living in the moment and doing well at this level and letting that take care of itself. And it's all about education, whether they realize it or not now. I said that night of that athletics night, it's no different than a math teacher, a science teacher, a chemistry teacher. We just, football, hockey, soccer, it doesn't matter. It's just a different vehicle to get to address the same core values. And I believe that, and I can sit there and say that the relationships for me personally were what had the biggest impact on my life. I still play golf with my high school friends to this day. 17 years later, we do benefit every year. in honor of some teammates who passed away during my high school years. And to think it's 17 years, you know, that we were there.
It shows something came out of.
Yeah, I mean, it had an enormous impact on me, and you know, but you don't really. You're so. I guess it's a little short-sighted when you're that age, and you don't really realize it. And you know, I have the benefit of looking back, as we all do in hindsight, and saying, you know, wow, what a great experience, what a great time. And I think that if that to me is the key in what you take out of your athletics.
And it does sound like you're trying to take that approach to the students so that they do realize kind of what they're doing and how to take ownership and leadership for what position they're in.
Right. I mean, you want them to leave here, and I said this a couple weeks back. I want them to leave here being, you know, great communicators, able to handle adversity, which is a big part of athletics, being able to deal with adversity, and ultimately be better leaders. You know, if they do those three things and they leave here doing those three things and they have great relationships along the way, it was a huge success. Yeah. You know.
And what do you think, from success to kind of struggles? What roadblocks have you come across, or what struggles have you had adjusting, or, you know, coming into this program? Have you encountered any that set you back?
You know, a lot of the stuff I did at Holy Cross was applicable. I think there's a perception that when you're coaching, all you do is you're there from 3 to 5. Well, in college, that's not the case. I mean, you put in a lot of hours. You're on the phone all night recruiting. You're on the road all summer recruiting. So there's a lot of hours in that job. And that was one of the things I heard here was, well, there's a lot of hours. Well, you know, I've kind of been through that. And you
there's
know,
not as much.
I've been driving home from New Jersey, you know, late at night from a recruiting trip. And, you know, I've done those things.
Yeah.
But, and you know, administratively, we plan all our travel. We, you know, we do a lot of the stuff. It's just you're doing it for that one sport. Now you need to expand your role. And you know, that's a little bit of an adjustment because now you're not worried about just one sport. You're worried about, you know, 25. And that is a little daunting, but being organized is the most important part of that. Yeah, if you're not organized, you'd be lost. And you know, it's something that I'm definitely a type A guy. So my wife can attest to that.
There you go. Opposite of your, you know, your struggles, what have you felt you've adjusted best to? What do you think was the easiest for you to step in and do?
I think the best part so far to me has been the support of everybody I've been working with. That was evident from the get-go, and really an attraction to me coming here to begin with starting with you know, the leadership of Mr. Theodos, Dr. Martis, Mr. Delaney, Mr. Heinricher, all those guys that have been so supportive and helpful. Kevin Corliss, who I've learned quickly is just so clutch in getting things set up and helping get me up to speed on how things have kind of worked in the past, and you know what the best way to do things is. And, so I'm all ears, you know, and you know, you don't come into these situations with all the answers. You know, you listen a lot and, you know, see how things are done, and if you think that maybe you can tweak something here or there and make it better, then great, you know. But having those guys in place, they've been doing it for a long time. You know, even just the event staff at football games, people that have done the ticket sales, and I mean, they kind of have a system, and you know, so learning that stuff, that's been the best adjustment. And you know, who you work for and who you work with is the most important part of any job. I've learned that in my short career.
It sounds like too you've been very welcomed into the.
I hope so. You know,
the way you're talking, it does seem.
It's just for me, it's been fun. You know, dealing with people that seem to be really excited about sports, and I know it's a big part of the town, and I was aware of that before I got here, of the tradition and how much people love sports in this town. That was a big part of, you know, wanting to be a part of that.
Right. And what would you say, I know you said you're taking advice from everyone else and they're kind of feeding you ideas and suggestions and how it's been done. What do you think, do you have any goals that looking forward that you say, you know, this works really well, but I think it might look better this way? Do you think in those terms?
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, when you're listening, you're listening to the good, and you're also listening to stuff that, well, maybe we could do it a little better this way, you know. And to sit here today after 2 months and say I have those answers, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't, you know. But there's a couple things that, in my own private moment, driving home, I've thought, well, maybe we could do it that way, you know. And you never make, decisions until you get informed. It would be foolish to do that. So I'm trying to get as informed as I can and asking a lot of questions.
Yep.
And, then I'll make my decisions going forward. I think the first year is a lot of that is just getting informed and kind of just finding out how things are run.
Right.
But I definitely, I'm thinking long term and how we can get better. One of the things I want to do is do a Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think that we have one. But any way we can honor our past and bring those people back, I think is a good thing. So.
Yeah. And what do you think, if you had to today give us a mission statement of where you want this program to kind of go, what do you think it would be?
Something, I wrote this up for the football program, and
Did you?
I wouldn't be able to,
come off
the top of my head tell you exactly.
I mean, just a brief.
In a nutshell, I just want our kids to go about things the right way, and what I mean by that is just be first class, And I said that as a goal. I said it to Dr. Martis, I said it to Mr. Theodos. That's my goal, is to run it first class, and that means you want your student athletes going about their business on and off the court, on and off the ice, on and off the field in a first class way. Knowing that sports is such a big part of this town, understanding the role you carry off the field, and you want it to be all positive.
Right.
You don't want it to be any negative.
Yep.
I guess my vision of it is that I want the kids to be championship driven. I want them to be character driven. I want them to work hard. I want them to learn something from their experience. All those things, and a lot of that stuff. Like I've said it before, it sounds cliched, but that's ultimately what we want it to be about. First class operation. That when people talk about Foxborough athletics, they say, "Wow, they're really first class," and they're rock solid program.
Have you, in your baseball coaching, even looking back, have you had I don't want to say struggles, but issues with that, with off the court issues or on the court issues,
Sure.
off the field? And how do you deal with those? I mean, does it? Is it easy for you to, go to the student and say, this is wrong, this is why it's wrong? What are you going to do to fix it? Or
I was as a coach, I was always real direct.
Yep.
And that was my motto: be direct. Don't sugarcoat anything.
Right.
And we had meetings after every fall season, before our spring season, after our spring season.
Yep.
So kids always knew where they stood,
right.
whether they agreed with it or not. At least they knew what their role was.
Yep.
At least they knew where they stood. If there's, in terms of issues on and off the field, I don't think there's a coach alive that hasn't gone through some form of that. In 12 years of coaching, I've certainly seen those incidents here and there, and it shapes you. I mean, you ask me what my mission statement is. That certainly has shaped it. And even as a player, I know I went through that. You play on some teams where everything is great. You play on other teams where some kids that you play with aren't really on the same page, and maybe they're doing their own thing, and that can be hard to deal with, but that's all part of dealing with adversity and finding a way to work through that stuff and finding a way to reach that teammate, to get them on the same page. It's not easy.
Right.
But over time, I've had those experiences, and it's definitely shaped me.
Into the way to handle it.
Just be honest and be direct.
Yep.
That's the way I do it.
And I think right there too, that's gonna, you're looking for that first class, and that's the best way to get it.
Yeah.
Is by the honesty and just the. You can't sugarcoat things, or else they're not gonna.
Hey, we're all
not
human.
Gonna work.
We're all human. We're gonna make mistakes. Own up to your mistakes.
Exactly.
Take responsibility for them. I'm no different.
Yep.
There's times where I'm gonna be, wrong in this world and make mistakes, and that's just life. Yep. But how do you roll with the punches?
Exactly.
So.
And then kind of the heart of why you do this. How did you get into, working with students on a daily basis? Was it something you always wanted to do? Did it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my experience in high school was had a big impact on me.
It's like kind of influenced.
Big time.
Yeah.
We just I had a really we had two close friends who passed away during my last 2 years in high school, and it changed me in a lot of ways. So it just what happened with the teams that we played on during that time was really special. So you get that feeling, and when I went on to college, I wanted to keep having that feeling, and emotionally and whatever it was. To be honest, it's probably unrealistic to feel like you could duplicate it.
Right.
You can't. I haven't.
Right.
But I want our kids to have as rewarding an experience as I had. Yeah. If it can come anywhere close to it, then we'll be successful. And it just, I love sports. I love working with kids and communicating with kids. It's a lot of fun. That's why you do it. You don't do it for any other reason than you're trying to help kids. And that was the first lesson I learned when I got my first year coaching at Brandeis was you don't get into this to win championships. You get into it to help kids. So
it's not about you either. It's it's all about them.
Right. And you want it to be about them first. And I talk about in terms of what we're looking for in our coaching staff. You want them to be high character people, knowledgeable, hardworking. And you want them to have the kids as their first priority. If you have those things,
it'll come together.
Yeah, the other stuff will take care of itself, and I really believe that. So.
Yeah, well, that's good. It does sound like you have, your leadership is going to come from the top, like you said, and it's going to be first class. And hopefully everything doesn't always work that easy, I know, but hopefully everything will kind of fall right into place.
Nothing happens overnight, and you just, you have a plan and you stick to it.
And like you said, you roll with the punches.
You roll with the punches.
Just see what you can
get. Got to do that.
Kind of getting into you a little bit more. What's your favorite sport to watch? I have to ask. Do you have one? I know you said tennis, but
no. I love. People always say, "Was it baseball?" I love watching baseball. Yeah. But I remember when I was last year when I was coaching, I'd be on the field for 7 hours. I come home and the Red Sox would be on. It's like the last thing I wanted to do was watch the Red Sox. Yep. I love watching football. Yep. Big football fan, pro football more than anything. And I'm a closet tennis fan. I like my Wimbledon mornings and U.S. Open and stuff like that. I don't know. It's always been just kind of just something that I like to watch. But baseball, football, tennis, that's about it.
Very nice. Do you have any favorite teams? I have to ask that.
Diehard Red Sox.
Okay.
Pats.
Yep.
Bruins. Celtics.
Yeah. All right, so we got a true New Englander here.
I mean, it's my brother went to Villanova, so I do follow them college basketball. I'm a Villanova basketball fan. Holy Cross, grew up watching them. But just diehard New England sports fan.
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Beth.
And for all your insight. We do appreciate it. Thank you for all the FCA volunteers for all their help. And thank you for tuning in for this edition of Fall Sports Talk. Have a great night. That wasn't bad.